Have you ever thought about how riding a bicycle could make getting around easier in your city? Bicycles have a long history in Africa, especially as a means of transport. But in the big cities today, not very many people use a bicycle to commute. And there are good reasons for that, safety being a major one. According to international standards, there are only 4,200 kilometers of road networks that are considered safe for commuter cycling in all of Africa. And most of those roads are in just 3 countries, being Uganda, Tanzania, and South Africa. So by that standard, it is essentially unsafe to commute by bicycle in most parts of Africa. So given that, we wanted to get a feel of what it's like to get around by bike in a major city. We've picked Africa's most populous city to check it out. Lagos is known to be very congested. People can spend up to 3 hours a day stuck in traffic. That adds up to a significant amount of time and lost productivity. So could using a bicycle like this one help? Our colleagues Flourish Ubanyi and Olisa Chukwumah put that to the test.
Cycling in Lagos is not for the faint-hearted. There are no dedicated cycling lanes, and drivers here in Lagos can be reckless, which means when you cycle, you are putting yourself at risk of accidents.
I think bicycle would be a risk on the way because most of these downfall drivers are not, I don't think they are okay upstairs. So I think it's very risky to ply bicycle on this major way.
I'm in my car right now. I can lock my doors, I can seal my windows and have some safety net that nobody's going to come and harass me. But if I'm on the road and I'm cycling, heaven knows what's going to happen.
That's true. Driving might be the safe option, but it's slow. A 30-minute drive can easily become hours. On average, people in Lagos spend up to 3 hours in traffic. That's about 45 working days each year.
It's hell. I spend most of my time in traffic, actually, if you think about it, because I only spend 3 to 4 hours in the office and then I'm back on the road because I'm trying to beat the traffic, and then I end up not beating the traffic because it's ridiculous. It's crazy.
After plying the traffic to work, you sometimes become very unproductive because you'll be tired with backaches and all that, so it's very stressful.
Time spent in traffic not only affects our productivity, but also contributes to stress and mental fatigue. But I have to say, in some places, I felt really unsafe, so I had to get off the bike and drove by car until I reached a safer area.
Cycling in Lagos is not all smooth riding. The roads can be really rough and bumpy. I understand why not many people cycle here in Lagos.
Okay, so looking at that, Lagos by bike is not a smooth ride just yet. And that's also the case in Kampala. Walking and cycling are the most popular means of transport in Uganda, but are also the most unsafe. Now there is a concerted effort to make the country's roads safer for people cycling. The government has developed a so-called non-motorized transport policy, or NMT, to achieve that. I'll be talking to an urban planner in Kampala about it after this report on an initiative in Uganda that's working to promote cycling as a sustainable way to get around.
Sunday mornings often have less traffic in Kampala. An opportunity for Rosie Maweje to have a ride in the city. The 9-year-old is the youngest member of Fun Cycling Uganda, a group of local cycling enthusiasts.
Riding where there are no cars, it's fun and you can move. But riding where there are cars, you can't move and you have to stay in your line.
An affiliate of Critical Mass Uganda, Fun Cycling has about 100 members. The group regularly meets once a week to promote cycling as a sustainable fitness and cleaner mobility option.
You people should all cycle, because whenever you cycle, you're not polluting the air, you're not polluting the environment. There is no gas or any emission the bike is putting out. It's only your body, your legs, and your mindset.
But cycling side by side with heavy traffic on narrow roads can be dangerous. To address that, urban planners want city authorities to invest more in non-motorized transport infrastructure.
People shouldn't need to drive around their neighborhoods to go from home to church, to go from home to a shop, to the supermarket. These are journeys that can be easily made with non-motorized transport, even in the central business district. I think it's a recipe for creating smarter cities, more beautiful cities, but healthier population.
Kampala is now piloting the city's first car-free zone. The so-called NMT zone stretches for close to 2 kilometers, strictly for cyclists and pedestrians. Authorities are already seeing its benefits.
Roads are not built or constructed to move vehicles. Roads are constructed to move people. The moment roads focus only on vehicles and ignore people, then they are not safe. That's why we are saying, in all the interventions we are making as a government, there must be what you call NMT facilities.
It disturbs Rosie Maweje whenever heavy traffic pushes her on the periphery.
I feel scared, but one thing which you have to do, slow down but don't stop.
And as she completes her 20 kilometers for the day, Maweje wishes that infrastructure can be improved so that more people can join her for a ride.
My next guest initiated the car-free zone pilot concept in Uganda's capital, Kampala, that you just heard about in the report. Amanda Gabirano is an urban and regional planner. She chairs the National Physical Planning Board in Uganda, and she used to be the vice president of the World Cycling Alliance. That's an NGO advocating for bicycling transportation. Welcome to DW News Africa, Amanda. Tell us more about why Uganda is putting emphasis on cycling as a means of transport, as stated in the country's non-motorized transport plan.
So Uganda is trying to be more inclusive in terms of infrastructure design, not also because of just walking and cycling, but because those are the majority of people that are on the roads.
Right.
And for long, they've been forgotten. The pedestrians have been forgotten. The cars been given so much attention for so many years. So I think it's now the right time for Uganda to, by example, and give a space to those that deserve to have it.
So, Amanda, tell us more about this concept that you initiated, the car-free zone. How's it working out and what's the objective?
The main objective was road safety and actually reducing the congestion in that area, improving the air quality, better business, and also enabling everybody to enjoy that space downtown town. And that space was always very crowded. So the main objective was to facilitate smooth flow of traffic, but also facilitate the majority of the users of that road space.
As you're saying, right, a lot of people already commute by bicycle in Uganda, so, or at least in the capital, but so it's not necessarily about convincing people to get on the bicycle because people already are. But we know the statistics tell us that less than 2,000 kilometers are approved roads for cycling according to the international standards in Uganda. So give us a sense, Amanda, of what it's going to take, this effort, financially and otherwise, to make the roads safer for people on bicycles and people walking in Uganda.
I don't think that it's very easy as you are stating it, because the people that are cycling right now, I don't think that they are doing it out of choice. I think they are doing it because they have no other choice of moving around and about. And what we are trying to do is to allocate spaces for cyclists and pedestrians so that they can feel appreciated and that mode is a mode of transport and they can choose it whenever they can. So we are trying to normalize it, but it's not that easy because we are going to also lose this number if we don't provide for safe and attractive spaces for them. It's not going to be permanent because everybody wants to have a car now to move conveniently because we don't have those facilities yet. So that's not really the case. It's not as easy. Two, there's an attitude issue of the car is for the rich. So when you have a car, the status is higher. You feel richer with a car. That attitude is still there. So we still have to contain that. And we also respect people who are riding, people who are walking as car users, but also enabling the car user to feel that, yeah, I don't have to show myself that I'm rich, I'm poor because of the car, because of the bicycle, because I'm walking. So we still have to fix the mindset issue.
If we look at the likes of Copenhagen, Amsterdam, these are ranked the best cities for cycling. They've got entire bridges, for example, dedicated to cyclists. You're talking about copy and paste. Are these templates replicable in our major cities, or do we need entirely different approaches in African cities?
Each city has its own template. It's a mistake for any city to try and copy another city and try to replicate exactly as it is, because we have different cultures, we have different norms. But what is very important in this aspect of mobility is that the human behavior of movement is the same worldwide. People want comfort, they want convenience, they want safety, they want short trips, they want to pay less for their trips. So that is uniform, and I think that's a good thing to copy. Then the rest of the detail is something that has to comply with the local context. So we don't want to be Amsterdam, we don't want to be Copenhagen, we want to remain as Kampala, but provide road space for people to be safe.
On that note as well, I mean, just give us a sense of coming back to cycling specifically. How will our cities, our daily lives be better if more people, for example, got used to getting around on their bicycle?
I mean, people are spending so much money on transport, on fuel. The fuel prices are rising every day. And the time we are spending in congestion is something we shall not get back. People will benefit a lot in terms of reduction in the cost of travel, reduction in the time of travel, health benefits, because the obesity cases are going high. We are sitting in offices, we are sitting in traffic, children are sitting in traffic. I think when we enable children to go to school by bike, when we enable people going to work by bike, we are going to enable health livelihoods, healthy families, and this will also save government money on health. People should be connected to their places in the most convenient, affordable, healthy way. And this is cycling and walking. So this is something that is obvious, but doesn't really seem that obvious, unfortunately.
Right. Amanda Gavirano, thank you. Next, we go to Kenya, where the bicycle has long been a mode of transport and also a means to earn a living for many people. And as you're about to see in our next report, things are changing. But our correspondent, Felix Maringo, met one proud bicycle owner who says he doesn't plan on giving up his two-wheeler anytime soon.
It's early morning here in Kiambu, just outside Nairobi. Bicycle riders are out looking for customers. For Josephat Mali, this is how he makes a living.
On a good day, or even when business is bad, you won't lack the money to pay the rent. In one way or another, the bike is a stepping stone. I won't go to bed hungry, the kids won't sleep with empty stomachs, and life will go on.
Growing up, Joseph did not have a bicycle. It was owned by religious leaders, teachers, and the affluent in his community. This did not deter him from aspiring to be a bike owner.
I had promised myself as a young person that I would buy a bike with my first pay slip. So when I got my first salary, I met up with an old teacher who was selling his bike for 14 euros. But I ended up buying it for 10 euros. I still have a bike, ever since 1997.
Since 97, the bicycle is often the first form of mobility for many young people in this side of Africa. If you do not own one, then it becomes every child's dream to one day own a bike. Much as they are rapidly being replaced by motorcycles, the two-wheel cycling machine has maintained its place in rural Africa, with most of the people in urban centers using it for fitness activities. Times are changing and motorcycles are becoming more popular. They have capacity to ferry more goods and are faster compared to the bicycle. However, Josephat cannot afford one at the moment, and so he has to make do with what he has to keep life moving.
With the bike, when you are carrying goods, you have an advantage over someone from the market who is carrying a sack of potatoes on his back. If you put the sack on the bike, the rate at which he will get tired versus you on the bike is way different.
Even as Josephat and other cyclists continue to ferry customers and goods, the bike remains one of his most precious commodities.
Well, from one way of earning a living on a bike to another. Professional cycling in Africa historically doesn't have a solid foundation like other sports, but that's changing. And over the past decade, there are a number of organizations focused on bridging the gap between African youth and the sport of professional cycling.
Many obstacles exist for Africans aspiring to become elite cyclists who want to test their skills with the best of Europe. Some have nothing to do with the sport.
When you're born in Africa, the first challenge is to get the document, the visa and the passport to come through to Europe.
For the other existing obstacles, there's help. The organization Team Africa Rising, founded in 2007, is working to grow the sport of cycling on the continent. They provide parts, equipment, and coaching.
Simon. I don't want to be the face of African cycling. I want to just help train, teach, give all of our experience to African countries to run their sport. We have been focused since 2019 on working with Benin cycling and West Africa, because that's kind of an untouched area of the African continent.
Focused on the youth, Team Africa Rising wants to find the next Benyam Gourmet. The 23-year-old is one of only 2 black Africans competing at this summer's Tour de France. At the 2022 Giro d'Italia, he became the first black African to win a Grand Tour stage. Team Africa Rising believes in Africa's cycling potential.
I 100% believe we'll see an African champion at the Tour de France. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think that it was possible. It's 100% possible. The talent is on the African continent. I see it every day because I'm on the ground, and there's so much potential. And the only thing, well, the only things they're lacking is, access to equipment, access to good training programs and coaches, mechanics. We go in and we teach all of that.
Africa will see its first major cycling event in 2025 when Rwanda hosts the UCI Road World Championships, generating new excitement in African cycling.
My next guest got his first bicycle at the age of 14, and 6 years later, he was a professional cyclist, competing at a very high level in the sport, including the Giro d'Italia competition. Songezo Jim joins me from Johannesburg. Welcome to DW News Africa, Songezo. Cycling as a sport is not very accessible in Africa. So how did you get into it?
Thanks for having me on the show. Cycling, as you say, is not an easy thing to get into it, especially for us coming from the disadvantaged communities, So I got into it when I used to live in Cape Town. So I lost my parents when I was young. Then I moved in with my aunt in Cape Town. And then there was a race that go past my house. So I asked the guys how to join the cycling club and stuff. And then I joined. And then, that's where it actually began. But when I joined the club, I didn't even know how to ride a bicycle.
Yeah, I mean, I find that incredible that in 6 years or a little bit more, you were able to turn pro. But let us in on what it's actually like competing as a professional cyclist. What does it take to perform at a very high level like you once did?
It takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work as well, And you've got to be disciplined and dedicated in what you're doing, because you spend a lot of time away from your family. That's not easy. And you have to put in every day, like 100%, your training, your gym work, your nutrition, your sleeping hours, all these things, they add up in you being the best possible athlete that you can be. So it's definitely not easy. Yeah.
I was looking at your Instagram and I see that you spend a lot of time training on the road, on the bicycle on the road. And I wondered, is it safe? Because we've been hearing from a number of people from different parts of the continent in the program today, just talking about how unsafe it is being on the road.
Yeah, it's definitely, it has changed. It's no longer as safe as it used to be. And I think people, they need to be educated about cyclists, And I mean, like, the road is for everyone to share, So we just have to respect each other on the roads and make it more safe for everyone, And it's good for the climate as well to get on bicycles,
Songezo, the Tour de France is cycling's most prestigious competition. And last year, there were no black riders taking part. And in general, there are very few black riders who can actually say they've taken part in the Tour de France. From your perspective, what is the reason for the lack of this diversity in the sport at that level?
I think, most black riders are pretty much they're coming from Africa. And first of all, we have no African team. That's first thing. So there are no riders getting that bridge to Europe. So, and it's not easy to get into European teams as an African rider, with visa issues and all that kind of stuff, But when you've got an African team, at least it's a little bit easier. So we definitely need to grow and get more people into cycling in order for us and have our own African team that's focusing on getting black cyclists into the Tour de France. Because at this stage, it's really not looking great.
Right. I mean, I find that interesting that you say we don't have an African team. So the sport clearly needs to be developed further in Africa. And what do you think it will take to be able to do that? What kind of investment is needed? What kind of action is needed to develop cycling as a sport in Africa so that we do have an African team to represent us at the Tour de France one day?
I think we do need some people to invest into the project. The right people running this project as well, but not doing the project for their own interest, for the interest of getting riders to where the riders need to get, Then in that way, if getting people to invest into the sport, then in that way, we will be able to go to the Tour de France and the Giro d'Italia and so many other races,
Songezo, you sort of let us in on it a little bit, but you come from a disadvantaged background in South Africa. You've gone on to compete, as I said, at a high level at the sport. Just give us a sense, very quickly before we let you go, about how cycling has changed your life.
Cycling has changed my life in so many ways, You get to travel the world, you get to meet different people and different cultures, but cycling is such a very hard and demanding sport, So you need to be disciplined, your training, your preparation and all that, So, cycling has taught me so many things, So if you put in the hard work, you're going to get the results at the end, So it's just about that, Put in the hard work and then the results that will come.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much, Songezo Jim, talking to us from South Africa. We appreciate your time. Good having you on DW News Africa.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm now seriously considering getting on the bike more. Maybe it's too late for my pro career, but I can still reap the health benefits and do my bit for the environment while I'm at it. So how about you? Do you think cycling could be a way to get around in your city? Well, that's it for now. Be sure to check out our other stories on dw.com/Africa. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Happy cycling if you're going to do so.